Good afternoon, comic book fans. Welcome back to Comics in 5 Minutes. It's the fourth review this week I've done. Is it too much? People getting bored? Who knows? Hardly anyone watches. I'm just having fun doing it on my own. Today, the second review of the day, we're doing Creepshow, which is one that I've been keeping an eye out for a while. I'm a big fan of the form straight away. So it's automatically going to be one that I'm looking at with a slightly more positive light. Yes, I know going in bias is not really what you should do for reviews, but pretty much every bit of journalism ever created in the world since forever has had its biases, and I think ignoring them is silly. Instead, we should talk about them and why they matter. So let's talk about this in terms of form. For a start off, it's a portmanteau horror. Exactly what I love from my horror, especially this kind of short form storytelling. I feel like you can get a lot more out of it in terms of pacing, and the terror can be ramped up nicely, and you don't need to really spend a long time doing exposition. It should just be short and punchy and to the point, which is exactly what it is in two separate stories. And I absolutely love both of them. Even though they've got a lot in common, they do things differently, and I like that, because at their heart, I think stories like this fall into the morality play kind of ideology. One of the more famous ones being the monkey paw story. The idea that you get these three wishes, but your motivations might be different, and the fact that you're wishing for things which might not be great, they're going to turn against you. The curse of the monkey paw. It's a fairly common one, and we'll see it a lot. Specifically, in my head at the moment, thinking like 12th and 11th century European fairy stories, which invariably have children being dismembered, eaten, and scattered around the woodland by various creatures for daring to not do their chores that their mum sent them. It's a terrible kind of way of giving morality to children. But these stories exist for a reason, and portmanteau horror and this kind of short form horror, I think, does that really effectively. One more recent one I've really quite liked has been the tail end of the DC horror one, The Devil Made Me Do It, which was, the actual comic book itself was okay, but I also was looking forward to the shorter form morality plays in the back. So, first one, it's a very simple morality play. It is about greed and also kind of knowing you're doing something wrong and still doing it anyway. And the violence meted out by the creature from horror and creature from nightmares is astonishingly brutal. More so than the second by a considerable degree. I'm not going to attempt to describe it, but in an effort to stop it happening to one of the characters, they voluntarily throw up all over themselves. Yes, we're talking about vomit again. Third review out of 4, which is going to be throwing up this week. Don't know what's going on with that at the moment. It seems to just be in vogue. Second one is a slightly longer story, and it's a bit more complex. And the morality isn't as obvious. There isn't really much in the way of punishment in the brutal sense, even though it literally has a creature from in-world an 11th century European fairy story. It's a creature which turns up and devours children. That's what it does. But there isn't really a moral for it. It isn't like it turns up and devours children because they do X or haven't done Y. It's simply that's what it feeds on. It is a monster. It eats children. Do not invite it into your home. But it's turned up because two divorced parents have struggled to get entertainment for a child's party, and literally they think this is a guy dressed in a fancy dress costume, and one of them brings him in, and then later on the dad turns up with a fairy princess kind of thing. But in the middle of all this monster is going on a rampage, murdering everyone by eating them, although that's what we're supposed to think. It isn't really murdering them, it's eating them. But later on, the girl whose party it is, in the midst of complaining about her parents' divorce being an issue, and how they play off each other and try to point score so much, and how frustrating it is to be part of their drama and their games and their machinations, she managed to get this thing hung up from a tree, a la the piñata her dad got her, beat the ever-loving snot out of it, and all the individuals it's eaten, at least as far as I can tell, just come back out. And other than being thoroughly grossed out, possibly traumatized, and covered in goo, so perfectly fine. And then the twist in the tale is that the young girl then uses this as just a brilliant excuse to get what she wants on her birthday. She manipulates her parents' guilt and uses the fact that the divorce is there and that they did this because neither of them were paying enough attention to her, and she is the monster of the story. But she doesn't get any comeuppance. She's a clever monster, and it's kind of that weird flip of, just because you are the bad guy in a story doesn't mean you can't get out of things, and being clever and taking advantage of other people's weaknesses, not necessarily weaknesses, other people's selfishness, other people's ability or willingness to manipulate others. If you can take advantage of that, then are you the monster, or are you just taking advantage of other people's monsterish behavior? I like the fact that, yes, I do love the morality tale of it, and I think it's a great way of doing it. But I like the fact that it changes it while still being part of the same genre, part of the same setting. As I say, the bad monster in it is literally from a children's fairy tale. It's fantastic that they use that exact format, which works so well, and use it to tell a different message. on top of all that, the artwork is fantastic. Be prepared for the first one to be absolutely chock full of absolute gory horrorness. The second one is a bit more subtle, but at the end when it comes, it is kind of brutal. And it's John McCrea, who is an artist I absolutely love. His inking is fantastic, and it's worth it just for that alone. That is what I'm expecting to be reviewed this week. But there's one more thing on my spinner which I really want to read. And if it's something which I can find a way to express and find the time to do it, I might sneak one extra bonus review in tomorrow at some point during the day. So once again, if you do want to carry on watching me talk quite quickly into a camera, hit the like and subscribe and you won't miss any of this. Until I see you again, though, look after each other, everyone. Stay safe. Bye.